I don't regret it a bit. If you have followed me on this channel for long, if you've seen tutorials with this knife, or you've seen Instagram posts, Facebook posts, whatever, this is my Beckwith Forge knife, and it is my most used knife by far. And every time I post a picture of it somewhere, people ask me about it. They say, Johnny, what's that leather on the handle? I want to talk today about knife modification, about things that you can do to your knives to make them more comfortable for you. This is going to be opinion based because the stuff I'm going to go over is going to be about what I prefer in knives, what I find works best for me and the style of carvings that I do. With that said, the style of carvings that you do, the style of carvings that other folks do, are not going to benefit necessarily from the things that I like about my knives. When it comes to knife handles, we are all different creatures. We have different sized hands, we have different preferences on what we're holding on to while we carve, and that needs to be taken into account. So when I go over this, I'm going to be going over a lot of things that are just purely opinion based, but I'm going to also talk about things that you might want to consider when thinking about knife modifications that you can do to your own knives, because there are a lot of things to consider here, and there's a lot of things that could really benefit you if you haven't thought to do it. Or maybe you've been a little too scared, a little too nervous, like, what if I do this and I don't like it? Well, what knife modifications have I made that I regretted? What knife modifications have I made that I loved? Let's go over all that right now. So we'll flip the camera around and yeah, time for some knife talk. Should be fun. Let's talk for a moment about what makes a good knife. What makes a quality knife? What qualities of knives just make them stand out against others? And a really good knife is a Helvy knife, right? Everyone knows of the Helvy brand. Well, you probably know about Helvy brand, but I have got all my Helvies back here. These 4 knives here, and then all these knives here are all Helvies. And the standard Helvy has these Dymalux handles, right? What makes these good quality knives is consistency in the blades and consistency in the quality of the handles and the quality of the manufacturer all around. Let me use this roughout knife here as a good example, okay? This roughout knife has a convex grind blade, and a convex grind blade comes from the spine and curves around to the apex of the blade. It's not a completely flat grind. An example of a completely flat grind knife would be like this flex cut right here. It's a completely straight, flat plane from the back edge of the spine to the cutting edge right here at the apex of the blade. So completely flat. This one curves and goes downhill a little bit, comes out, and that creates a thicker spine deeper into the knife. It makes the knife more sturdy. That convex knife, when it's cutting through wood, it slides through in a way that's just more satisfying and allows you to do more curve to the knife. It puts more curvature to the blade in a way that you might not get in a blade that is completely flat, or I should say it's harder to get in a blade that's completely flat. This blade here wants to carve straight, and so it's more difficult to get that curve cut when you're doing it with a flat grind blade. So it's more difficult to do. But with a convex blade, they lend themselves, in my experience, to curved cuts more. That's one of the things I love about a convex grind blade. That's one of the things that makes a Helvy knife so fantastic, is that convex grind. Now that really matters for me on roughout knives. Another quality of a good carving knife is this: the back edge of this blade here is rounded off, and it's not hard and square. This flex cut here is a good quality knife. However, that back edge is flat, and the edge outline of the spine here, that corner is nice and hard. So when you're doing push cuts, I'm pushing on the back of that blade with my thumb, this rounded edge is less fatiguing on my thumb as I do those cuts than this flex cut knife will be. This flex cut knife is a bit more, it's a bit harder, it's more rigid, and so my finger, my thumb is going to tire more easily pushing on this knife with those push cuts when I do this, because that hard edge is consistently pushing into the thumb. So to alleviate that, Helvy rounds off the back edge of that blade. Now, a lot of blade manufacturers are doing that same thing. This is a Drake knife, and Drake does the exact same thing. It's a flatter grind, but it is still slightly convex. And so you get the same kind of curved cuts if you want to when you're carving. You can bring that in and get a little curvature going on there, but it's got that rounded back edge as well, and it makes it easier on that thumb as you're going to push. Another thing about this knife that I really like is this finger groove. Not everyone likes those finger grooves, but I find that I really enjoy those. And that makes the handle grippier to me. So in summation real quick, things that I like about knives, things that I think are quality things on knives are the rounded spine and the convex grind. I really like a convex grind on a knife. Not all knives come that way, right? I've recently talked about how good M. Stein knives are, and I've got 3 M. Steins here, right? This is the one I got most recently, and this shows that blade bevel they have. You see, it's machine cut, and they've got a small bevel on the front edge. And that small bevel is plenty to carve with. You can get good cuts with this. It's a good knife. It's quality steel, and it's hardened well, right? Tempered well. If you want to modify this knife, we're going to talk real fast for a moment about modifying bevels. You can take a look at this one, this roughout knife, and you can see that I have modified that slight bevel that it had originally out. The right side one here is the original bevel that this knife here, this is the N5 knife and this is the N2. The N2 still has that original bevel. The N5 one does not. What I did was I took it to my diamond stones and I filed that hard edge off. And by doing so and then stropping it back up to sharp, it performs and carves just like my Beckwith Forge knife does. And it is one of my favorite roughout knives right now because of that blade shape. Because I got rid of that bevel, it now carves so beautifully. I really love it. The only thing that I haven't done is this knife on the back edge still has that hard shape, just like the flex cut knife does. So I'm going to take this to my diamond stones and I'm going to round off that back edge so I don't have that same finger fatigue whenever I go to use it. If I do that, this $15 knife from M. Stein then becomes an equivalent to a $60 knife from a manufacturer. It will have the same qualities that those other knives have. And that's fantastic. And that's something that I did with this knife myself. I took this $15 knife that has good steel, it's tempered well, and it stays sharp for long. And I take it and I make it into a knife that can rival one of these Helvey knives even, right? Now, Helveys, they are fantastic knives. Rich Smithson is absolutely fantastic at making knives. His consistency and quality is wonderful. But part of what people love about his knives are beautiful handles, and he does those so well too. This one here is, I think it's a wingy wood. You can just barely see the Helvey in it right there. It's dark wood. It's got a bone little accent there around it. It's a beautiful knife. It's a lovely knife. I love it, and I love how thick that base handle is, right? It's a great knife. But if I can take a cheap knife, because let's say I have trouble getting a hold of a Helvey, if I can take an expensive knife, not cheap, an expensive knife, and make it into something similar, that's absolutely wonderful. And that is something that people should consider that they can do. Now, when it comes to my Beckwith Forge, I haven't modified anything with the blade bevel. That blade bevel is so, what's the way to put it, Helvey-like in its consistency, in its shape. If you look at them side by side, they are so similar in profile, and that Beckwith is just slightly, and I mean ever so slightly, thicker. But that back edge is rounded off just the same. So it is a very comparable knife to me. The only thing that I didn't like is I don't like, for me, a smooth handle. When a knife handle is too smooth, I'll show this one here, it feels like it's going to slip out of my hand, like I don't have a good grip on it, and like I could lose control of the knife. And it's the same like with these OCC tool knives. These are good knives, but it's just a little bit too slick on the handle. The handle is a little bit too smooth for me to really enjoy using a lot. Now this knife, this M. Stein knife, this was a hornbeam wood handle, is a little bit nicer in that because it's a little bit rougher, and so I don't feel like I'm going to lose control of it as much. But I still would prefer more grip to that. So what do I do in those situations? In those situations, I put a little leather on there. This leather is a Torna tennis leather wrap, and I've got a little bit left over right here. And I'm going to show you how I apply that and what I do with it here in a moment. I'm going to have a link as well in the description below to where you can see it on Amazon, so you know exactly what it is that I'm using. Once you put that on, it stays on, and I haven't had to remove this stuff since I put it on this knife. And it is absolutely fantastic. It pads the handle a little bit, and it makes it far grippier than it used to be. I have had it on different knives, and I've had it from higher down to lower. I find I like it best on the bottom section of the handle, and it just widens out that bottom section. The handles I like most, Ash and Axe makes knives over on Instagram, and his handles I like the best because I like how wide they get at the bottom. This is a chip carving knife that he makes, and that handle is probably as close to perfect, I think, of a handle that I've held. I want to make another handle for myself for a blade, but I'm probably going to go with a shape very similar to this when I do that. I have this OCC Tools knife blade ready to go, and when I do make that knife, I am going to make this a convex grind. I'm going to round off that back edge, and then this nice large blade will be in a handle that I enjoy. And I already know OCC Tools makes absolutely fantastic tools. This is a well done piece of steel. I know it's tempered correctly. I know that because they've got a track record of consistency in what they do. And so I have no doubts it's a great knife blade. So if I'm going to get a knife blade, them or Badger State blades are great sources to do that. Now, what other things can I go over with you on knife modifications? This is a Badger State Blades 1.5" detail knife, and I have already changed up this handle. This is one of their pistol grip style handles, kind of curves out and around. I love that bottom shape right here, but the top was a little bit too wide for me. So what I did was I whittled off the top and smoothed it in. Then I sanded it smooth, and I took dark walnut or black walnut Danish oil and restained the whole thing. And then I put that leather wrap on there. And now this handle is absolutely fantastic. The knives I use most, I wind up putting the leather wrap on. This knife is going to wind up being the detail knife that gets the most work from me. I love how short the spine is to the apex of the blade here. That allows this knife to do so many small curves. When you're carving, you can create some really just fantastic shapes because it's that convex shape. Again, it's got a nice thick spine and it curves in towards that apex. But because it's also so short, it allows itself to do more of that curvature more easily than a larger knife can. And I really love that about this knife. So while I've modified the handle to be more comfortable in my grip, I have not modified the blade on this in any way, shape, or form. It's just a fantastic blade. When it comes to Badger State blades, this is a brand new one, and I bought this one here from Treeline. You'll notice that when you get it on their website for Badger State blades, you've got different handle options. If you buy it from a supplier like Treeline, you get the stock base handle. So this is an 1.5" roughout knife. Take a look at the blade profile here. You can see it in a light here. That's what I like about this one. I wanted to show that convex shape. You can see the way the light reflects off it, that it curves down from the spine out to that apex. That makes this a fantastic knife. So this roughout knife, their baseline, it's got that rounded backside slightly. It's not that hard edge line that you see here on the Flex Cut Pro. It's not that hard edge line right there. It's rounded off. And so this knife with this simple handle is a fantastic blade. All those really quality things that I'm looking for in a blade are in this simple $40 blade that you can get readily available. This is an absolutely stellar knife. What does this knife not have that a Helvy has? It doesn't have a mirror finish. Does that mirror finish cause this knife to carve better than this knife? If it does, I have not noticed it. I don't notice a difference at all when it comes to a mirror finish versus a non-mirrored finish. Someone who carves, maybe who's been carving longer than I have, may know more about that and may say, Johnny, you're wrong. And if that's the case, tell me down below or reach out to me in person, however you want to do it. But I don't see that at all. I see no issues with this. And it's the same thing is true with OCC tools. When you get an OCC tools knife, they don't have a mirror finish. This one's starting to develop a mirror finish because of how much I've stropped it in use as I've used it. So it's got a more polished, more mirrored finish. This knife I just got recently and hadn't gotten a lot of use yet. And once I got it, I thought, man, I'm probably going to do that knife video. I'm going to wait until I do that knife video so I can talk about it and show that finish it comes with. Because even though it's not a mirror finish, when you see the way it just carves into wood, the way it digs in, it is absolutely fantastic. And because that convex shape, I can start to create those curves like that right there, right? It lends itself to it well. It allows you to do more, in my opinion, than a flat grind knife can. Now, for this knife, if I start using this knife more and more, one of the first things I'm going to do to it is I'm going to put a leather wrap around the handle. And that's actually what I wanted to show you today, because I know already that this knife is going to wind up becoming one of my most used knives. And to make it one of my most used knives, I need to have a leather handle wrap on the bottom of this thing, because that's going to make me happy. Here's another knife I've modified. This is a Lee Ferguson knife. And this Lee Ferguson knife, I don't like that pointy end to the handle. So on this one, I carved that pointy end off. I've got it wrapped with some Kramer finger wrap. I like that Kramer finger wrap because it's soft and it compresses, and it also lasts a good long time. It feels really grippy in the hand. Now this knife blade probably doesn't look that pretty because I've taken it to a belt sander myself and I have adjusted this knife. Helvy makes a flex knife where they grind back the spine of the knife a little bit thinner along the back edge, and that enables the knife to have a bit of flex and give when you're carving. I really like that. But I also like a lot the way that knife pilots through wood and how smoothly it travels. So this one was a flatter grind knife, and I just grind this back edge flat, not in, just flattened it out some. And I find that this knife has become one of my most used knives as well. I really, really love it now, far more than I did before because of that little change. Now, doing something like that, I do run the danger of doing it and finding I don't use it as much. But if you are like me and you've got way too many knives already and you find yourself not using a knife because it's not your favorite, doing something like that, changing something up about the knife to see if it makes it more usable to you, something that you might want to play with more and to use more. If it does that, that's a fantastic move then. That is a win move, not a losing move, because now I use this knife far more than I would have, so it makes that knife more worthwhile to me. Okay, so this knife and this knife are both going to wind up getting leather wrap because I'm going to be using them both a lot. This one I already use a lot, which is why the handle's gotten so dirty. I mean, oh my gosh. There's other knives. Let's push these all out of the way. So this torn out leather wrap, we'll talk about that real quick. What you do here is you can see I've cut it at an angle because when you start to wrap it, you need to be able to secure the ends. This stuff is adhesive backed, and you can see right here, part of the edge is a little bit like that adhesive starts in the middle, and then the edge is left with a little lip there. And that's so you can overlap it as you go around. And that's fantastic, and it works out pretty well. I don't know if I have enough to do both knives here, so we're going to do one, and we're going to see What I also use is a little bit of super glue on the end to secure it down. So I did that on this side and I did that on this side. On this original one, what I did was I simply wrapped over the top of that wrap and then wrapped all the way to the back end, and then right there I super glued it down. And this one has been, yeah, absolutely fantastic. But it is a little bit thicker right here at the front edge because I double wrapped it. So I'm trying it differently with this Badger State blade one here, and we'll see. I don't know if I like how it comes out there on the end or not, but it feels great in the hand, and I haven't had any issue with it whatsoever when I'm using it. It's just whether or not I like the look of that, I don't know. I think I might like it better when it's wrapped down and you've got that full, see right here, this edge all is cut, whereas the edge of the leather, when it's not cut, has that little lower lip, right? And that allows it to sit lower like it does on this back edge right here and not look like that flat edge. So I think when we wrap this, we might do that around the top half and not have that show the same way. That way it can lay a little bit flatter. So we're going to see how that works out. Now this was a more ovular shaped handle, oval in shape, like so. So we're going to see how it works on this octagonal shaped handle. And we're going to see how it works on this BSB standard handle. And we'll go from there. It just peels on the back, like so. And we're going to start it right there. We'll start pushing it down. Keep it nice and tight as I come around. And once I hit that point where it meets, I'm going to start bringing it down as much as I can until I get to that point where I'm overlapping. And you can reposition it as you need to. You can see right here, I'm overlapping it a good bit. I'm trying to make sure that back edge meets just right. And I would like to keep that logo. I like Badger State Blades logo. So it's right here where I'm going to start to straighten that out. And I cut it like so. So as it comes around, the back edge ends right like so. And now you'll see it's already coming up right here in the back end. That's why I super glue that last bit. Oh, that's not perfectly straight there. Let's fix that up a bit. I don't like the way that's looking. Oh, there's a little bit of stuff underneath it too. Do that right there. A little bit of crud. Get off of there. There we go. Okay, the self-adhesive, it is easy enough to work with that you can move things around and reposition it. I haven't had issues with that, as you see. And it is not crazy sticky. So this front half is secured because it's overlapping itself, and it's the back half that's going to wind up coming up. So even though I got secured here, it's going to wind up coming up if I leave it like that. So I'm going to glue that down with a little bit of super glue for the end piece, and we will have a little bit of leather wrap on the back edge of this Badger State Blades knife. So let me get a little bit of super glue out. Put a little bit on the end of that leather and push that down into place. And the nice thing about super glue is it secures rather quickly. As you can see, I've not used a lot of that leather. It's just a bit. I like the way the handle feels. It feels more grippy. It's feels softer right there, but I still have nothing there but in the tip where my thumb is constantly pushing on it and whatnot. So I think that's going to work out fantastic. just to make that handle a little bit better. So I wanted to show that to you because a lot of folks have been asking about that and wanting to know what to do and how to do it. I love showing off their logo. I don't want to hide that. But yeah, Beckwith doesn't have a logo. Like you can see both the Battersea blades, I'm still showing the logo. I really like to see that. But man, that leather feels so good on the handle. And I definitely like that trailing edge, I think, or that leading edge being like this right here. If I'm going to have that cut area, having it in the back is preferable for me, I think. So at some point I may redo this. One pack of the torn leather wrap has done like 4 or 5 knives. So yeah, that's where we're at when it comes to knife modifications. Easy stuff to do. Oh, and because someone is going to inevitably ask about the leather handles or leather sheaths I got here in the back. These are all leather sheaths that I bought from the carving glove guy. You can get a deal from him and get a bunch of them, but I really like these leather sheaths because knives slide in them relatively easy. And then when I take a knife with me, it is well protected. I don't have to worry about it, so I can shove it in my go bag and I'm set. So I've got a lot of those for all the knives that don't fit on my tool tote, my tool carrier, and there's a good bit of them. And I usually wind up taking 5 or so knives with me, and I have a bunch of knives stored in a drawer, and I have each one of those has their own sheath to go with the knives. So yeah, and they're all different sizes. Some of them are larger than others. Like see, this one here is a little bit larger than this one here, and so the larger one goes with larger knives. Like this Drake is a real beast, and so fits fantastic, right like so. Yep, and that's what I got for you. All right, and that pretty much sums up everything that I wanted to say. The key takeaways should be this. Knife modifying shouldn't be something done lightly, but it should probably be something you should consider. There are so many things you could do to your knife that might make it better, that might make it more you, that might make you connect with it more. And I know that sounds like a silly thing, connecting with your knife, right? But this knife in particular, I have used for so long, and it holds a special place in my heart that puts it far above other knives. It is probably less about the knife itself and more about the connection that I have with this knife. There are other knives that could be better. Absolutely, I'm certain that there are. There are other knives that might be sharper, that might stay sharper longer. There are other knives that might feel more comfortable in my hand than this one does. However, this knife is my baby. I love this knife more than any other knife I have, and I'm going to use it more, and I'm going to be dependent upon it more than any other knives I have. Be willing to consider the alternatives. Be willing to consider what it is that you're looking for in your knife, in the experience you have when you're holding it, in the experience you have when you're cutting with it, and how it's cutting. Because there are things you can do to alter that. Some knife manufacturers have made these wonderful knives, absolutely fantastic, stellar knives. Helvy is a great example of that. They are wonderful knives. They are absolutely worth the money that they're sold for because they're fantastic. They're consistently fantastic. And that's the thing. Consistently fantastic is just absolutely amazing because not everyone can do that and pull it off. But the qualities that make them so good are replicatable. You can replicate those qualities in the knife that you have, maybe, if it's got good steel, if it's tempered correctly, and then you've got a knife that has all the hallmarks of these fantastic knives. It just isn't from that knife manufacturer. So that's something to consider, something to keep in mind when you're working with wood, when you're doing all this stuff, because Helvies can be hard to get a hold of. And some knife manufacturers are not easy to get a knife from when they're in such high demand. And that's all I got for you in today's video. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of the video. I really appreciate it. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, head over to Instagram, Facebook, give me a like and a follow over there as well. On the screen popping up, you're going to see the Patreon subscribers. And I just want to say right off the bat, thank you so much, my Patreon subscribers. It is you guys that are keeping the lights on, that are keeping me able to do the videos and get the tools and the equipment necessary to be able to pay for some of the stuff around here. And I really appreciate it sincerely from the bottom of my heart. If you want to go to Patreon, take a look over there. There's some extra content over there that I record kind of off the cuff things that I can get done where it doesn't have to spit and polish for a YouTube video, but it's still my style of teaching on things that I'm doing. Like I did a Santa Claus ornament, and I did a little caricature head, and it's the things I could record when I had the time, but like you hear my family in the background or you hear something else going on. So it's stuff like that, and it gives me another avenue of getting content out to you guys if you want to take part in it. And I'm going to wind up having free content over there too, stuff that isn't behind a paywall, and then some stuff that is, that way it encourages people to like help out. And the cheapest of the tiers is like $1.50, so it's not asking for a lot. So outside of that, though, I appreciate your guys' time. Ooh, I spent a little time this week on the website. I went through every product description and I edited the product descriptions to be more humorous and more just more me. If you're looking for a giggle and you want go to the website, look through the product descriptions of the stickers, just the stickers alone, not just the t-shirts. The stickers or the t-shirts too. They're all chef's kiss. They're fantastic. You won't regret doing it because it's a fun read if you like that kind of thing. Outside of that, I'll see you guys next time. Links to the website is in the bio. Have a good one, guys.